I attempted a hardcore Nuzlocke of Pokemon Colosseum. That means I have limited encounters and level caps, and that any Phenac Pokemon must be boxed immediately. Also, Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. I'm wearing my favorite Christmas sweater. I have a T-Rex pulling Santa's sleigh. It's pretty dope. Let me know in the comments down below what you're celebrating and how, if anything. And while you're down there, feel free to let me know if I should try any Nuzlockes in any side games, such as XD or Mystery Dungeon. For me, I'm celebrating having finished a week full of Christmas parties where I served about 2,000 people dinner and carnivals and games and photo booth stuff. But now I get a little bit more time with my family, but that's enough about me. Let's get to this challenge. Our story begins with a trip out to the desert. A Skarmory flies nearby. We approach a rundown building when it suddenly explodes. The troublemakers inside immediately mobilize to find out what happened as a cloaked character steals a strange-looking gauntlet. He flees with his faithful companion Umbreon, returning to his one-wheeled hoverbike and his other companion Espeon. The trio flees and sets off another explosion. Oh, and that cloaked character? That's me. We arrive at a little spot called the Outskirts Stand, where we see a pair leaving in a truck with a large yet silent and unmoving bag in the back. Surely nothing untoward is happening here. Inside the diner, some news position tells us that the bombed building was the hideout for Team Snagging, but more about them later. For now, this rando named Willie wants to battle. This introduces our two companions properly, who are able to take down his pair of Zigzagoon without taking any damage. This also shows off this game's battle mechanic. Every battle is a double battle. Defeated, Willie suggests we head west to Phenac City to test our strength. Against whom is unclear, but let's head that direction. Arriving in the desert oasis that is Phenac City, we see the two inconspicuous guys again. It turns out they have somebody trapped in that silent and unmoving bag. So we beat one of the goons easily, and random passersby show up to scare them off. We cut the bag open with the pocket knife that I always carry, and a girl pops out. Her name is Emma, after my lovely wife. Which I guess just turned this game into a romantic drama? Anyway, Emma mentions something about peculiar Pokemon, but I don't know what she's talking about. But she also wants to see the mayor to report on the crimes that just happened, so we agree to escort her there. We arrive at the mayor's house as Bede's dad is exiting. Seriously, how are these two not related? We head inside where Emma tells Mayor S. Cade about the peculiar Pokemon and her kidnapping. He agrees to start an investigation immediately, though he does creepily hit on her like old men do. I don't like it. For the first time ever, the proper authorities are going to handle the criminal happenings in a Pokemon game. In the meantime, S. Cade encourages us to check out the local Pokemon Stadium. Unfortunately, a challenge is currently underway when we arrive, so we'll have to come back later. As we leave, a trio of Team Snagging grunts roll up on us. They drop some exposition about us being a former snagger, but Emma doesn't care who I am. She just thinks of me as her gallant knight in a shining trench coat. What a healthy message to send to young girls like any other YA romance. Anyway, Emma suggests we find some Pokeballs, so let's do that. We check the shop in Phenac City, but I don't see any Pokeballs. I do grab a few potions for emergencies though. Rando then tells me to check back at the Outskirts Stand. Luckily for us, Random Lady was right. The diner owner pulls some dusty Pokeballs from storage and gives us 5 for free. I buy a pair of Great Balls for a trick later before heading back to Phenac City. We arrive back in town to hear that Dumb and Dumber are back with even more goons. We head to the mayor's house again, where we find that Disco has made a comeback. And so did the Power Rangers. Man, what throwbacks. Speaking of Disco, my girl's song is September by Earth, Wind & Fire, because they were born on September 21st. Anyway, Miror B and the 3 Rangers leave, and we fight Dumb again. After trouncing him, Dumber challenges us as well. His team isn't much better, but he does have a Makuhita, which turns out to be one of those peculiar Pokemon that Emma has mentioned. I'm going to call them Spookamon. Emma tells us to snag the Spookamon from him, so we do that. In fact, this snag is 100% guaranteed to succeed. Plus, there's a little glitch that you can exploit to save Pokeballs. If you toss a ball with your first Pokemon, you can switch the order of the Pokeballs with your second Pokemon to avoid consuming any Pokeballs. I used this glitch all the time playing Colosseum in my childhood. We snag the Makuhita, giving us our first encounter. Dumb and Dumber run off, leaving us to figure out what to do now. Checking on our new Spookamon, we see that he was caught at Mayor's house. which means we can catch another Pokemon in Phenac City. The Power Rangers are blocking all the exits from town, so I have to challenge one of them to leave. I choose the green guy because he has Bayleaf for me. We snag the dinosaur, and then Verde drops some exposition about how they created the Spookumon. Emma coincidentally has heard about this phenomenon, which suggests that it has happened before and or could happen naturally. She sends us to Pyrite Town, where she was first captured. So let's head over there. When we arrive, a cop named Johnson is interrogating some guy named Kyle? Kyle? Cal? How would you pronounce that? Anyway, this interrogation is happening in the middle of the street, which seems super professional. We then arrive in the middle of town, where a bunch of trainers await. They each have a Spookumon, so I get my pick of the litter here. I choose to fight Bandana Guy Divel because his trainer class is cool. And also he has a Quagsire, bringing more balance to the team. After some grinding, we discover a secret hideout run by toddlers in some buff guy's house. What a weird phrase to say. This isn't suspicious at all, especially when there's a man raving about shenanigans at the Colosseum when we leave. We should probably head there and check it out. But before we do, we stop at the police station, where we hear again that people are using Spookumon on the streets. Then the police chief suggests that we get out of town because the town has fallen into lawlessness and he can't guarantee our safety. Isn't that literally your job? Are you saying you can't do your own job? Maybe this calls for some defund. Anyway, we finally head to the Colosseum to check it out, but this one is in the middle of a challenge too. For a game called Pokemon Colosseum, there sure hasn't been that much Colosseuming going on here. Luckily, some rando also didn't get to enter, and he mentions Kyle dude from earlier. We approach the guy and challenge him to a battle for more information. He leads with a spooky ferret and a Ralts. Bayleaf body slams the latter, bringing in C-Dot in their place. Ferret and C-Dot then double team my Makuhita, nearly taking him down while he deals heavy damage to the former. I swap in Quagsire as Bayleaf finishes off Ferret. What's-his-name sends out Machop, whom I double team to take down quickly. That just leaves a little acorn who doesn't stand a chance. Defeated, he who cannot be named gives us a canon name for the Spookumon, Shadow Pokemon. But I'm going to keep calling them Spookumon. He then reveals that Miror B is handing them out to winners at the Colosseum. This is followed by a cut to Miror B and Mr. Bede talking about their plan moving into the final phase, which is a weird perspective shift. When we return to me and Emma, she reminds me that we need to enter the Colosseum. Alright, I'll try it, but I don't expect it to— oh hey look, a random guy passing out in public. I investigate this and discover that the raving man from earlier stole gear from this miniature power plant, shutting down the Colosseum until it is returned. So now we have to find it in order to finally enter the Colosseum. Luckily, I know where to find it. We ride to the nearby construction site, pick up the gear, and return to the power plant. Duking has arrived, but that doesn't really matter. We place the gear back in its spot, allowing the Colosseum to open again. Duking then asks us for a favor: to enter the next Colosseum battle. Thanks, dude. I've only been trying to do that for literally an hour. So here's the final battle of the Colosseum. Espeon and Umbreon face off against a Bagon and a Goldeen. The former falls quickly to confusion and brings in a Magnemite. The pups double team Magnemite and take them down. That leaves Delibird and the aforementioned Goldeen. So I divide and conquer, taking out the two Pokemon with ease a couple of turns later. Victorious, we are led to the Pyrite building by a discount Power Ranger. Inside, another discount ranger realizes who we are, so the first guy challenges us. Unfortunately for me, he has a spooky Yanma. This is the first encounter, so I don't have a choice but to catch it. Oh well, the rest of my team is pretty stacked already. When the rangers run off, Duking and the toddlers arrive. We catch them up on the happenings and they tell us about Duking's Plusle being held captive. So now I have to save the little rabbit. We fight our way to the rooftop where we have to save Silva by battling Miror B's personal lackeys. Neither of these battles are particularly interesting. They do have Spookumon, a low-level Remoraid and a Mantine. But I can't use either, so I blast through their teams. Miror B then zooms us to tell us where he is, so now we can find him and take him out. We head into Pyrite Cave to do just that, where we're forced to battle Rider Twan. He has a spooky Meditite, so I'll snag that as our encounter here. I was hoping for the Swablu available later, but Meditite is still a pretty good Pokemon. much better than Yanma, so she's joining the team right now. We finally make it to the dead end of Pyrite Cave, where Miror B is grooving with his quartet of Ludicolo. Wait, what if I did a challenge video using this guy's team? That would be so much fun. Anyway, let's take him down. Evice leads with 2 of his 4 Ludicolo, and I send out my faithful puppers. On the first turn, I hit both of them with my strongest moves to gauge damage. Then I follow up with a wombo combo to take down one of the dancing pineapples. Miror B sends out another duck, and then his 4th one when I wombo combo the other starting duck. I then spend a couple of turns tenderizing the remaining 2 lily pads so I can take them down in a single turn, which I do easily with both Espeon and Umbreon in green health. Evice ends with his spooky Sudowoodo, whom I can't capture because of encounter rules. I mix up my strategy to switch in Quagsire and Bayleaf, who quickly dispatch the fake tree with some leaves and water. With Disco dead again, we can rescue Plusle and escape the cave. Plusle decides that they want to join the team, so I'll have to check their summary to see if they count as an encounter. Before we can do that, we give Duking our number so he can call us on our PDA when he has more info about Team Snagging. Let's check on Plusle. First, we need to see Quagsire's summary. He was caught at Pyrite Town. Alright, cool. And Plusle, received from Duking. She counts, let's add her to the team. With the team updated, we head to the police station where Johnson again runs into us and thinks we're the chief. The chief then teases us about some villainous team plotting world domination. Do you mean Team Snagging or somebody else? We start to leave town when I notice Fatine the fortune teller is standing outside. We stop to chat with her and she directs us to the north to purify the Spookumon. Coincidentally, Emma's grandpa lives there too. And I guess we have our next destination. But before we leave, here's a little Easter egg. If you head back to Miror B's room after beating him, there's a surprise waiting for you. This hipster wannabe named Miracle B. He disappears after you beat the main story. Here's his team for your knowledge. Maybe I'll come back and beat him later. But for now, we're moving on. We arrive in Agate Village. Agate Village? However it's pronounced. We find Emma's grandparents, Egan and Bella, whom Emma catches up on the plot. Maybe she should be the one writing this script. Anyway, some random dude barges in, shouting about some outsiders attacking the Relic Forest. Egan, apparently a renowned trainer, rushes off to help. I'll leave that to him. I stop by the daycare to give Umbreon and Espeon nicknames, finally. They're Edward and Alphonse from Full Metal Alchemist. I'd name Plusle Winry, but since she was formerly Duking's Pokemon, I can't do that. With that done, we head to Relic Forest. There are some Cypher peons here, so let's blow through them to see if Egan needs our help. When we enter the inner clearing, we get to watch as Egan uses his years of experience to dominate a literal scrub completely. Oh, just kidding. He was the one getting dominated, and now we have to fight in his stead. Scrub's team consists of Spooky Hitmontop, Geodude, Clamperl, and Wynot. I managed to weaken the Dreidel, but he never stays in a Pokeball. Eventually, he knocks himself out with recoil from Shadow Rush, so I decimate the rest of his team with Espeon and Umbreon. I mean, Edward and Alphonse. Defeated, Scrub drops some clues for us, as well as an entire binder. Egan takes us back to his house, where he and his wife apparently have a tablet about Celebi and the relic. While they look for it, Egan sends us to visit another old dude to learn about Celebi. Doing that reveals that Celebi and the relic have the power to remind a Pokemon of their happiest memories. So it's like a Patronus, or a shot of nostalgia, eh? Heading back to Egan's, we receive the small tablet, which suggests that the relic can open the door of any heart that is imprisoned by Shadow. So it can cure Spookumon. Got it. Let's do that. We head back to the Relic Stone and purify Bayleaf. He evolves into Meganium, and we nickname him Winry. Yeah, I know Winry was a girl, but it's fine. We then also purify Quagsire and name him Maze. Lastly, Makuhita evolves and gets the name Scar. Now, the team is going to be so much better. Oh, we also got an email from Duking about the villains taking over Mount Battle. So we have to head that way now. We do some grinding first to purify Metatite. She also gains enough experience to evolve into Metacham. I then nickname her May. After some more grinding, we clear our way through Area 1 of Mount Battle. At the end, we find a hunchbacked Goku accosting some random dude. He even just straight punches him to the ground. What a Giga Jad. Let's take him down. Dakim is a very interesting battle. Most of his team uses a combination of Earthquake and Protect to deal massive damage to you. I send out Alphonse and Maze against his Matang and Camerupt. Al sets up Reflect to reduce that Earthquake damage, and Maze uses Surf to hit whomever isn't protected. With that, I can now predict who will protect, so I can blast the other with a combination of Psybeam and Surf. This takes down Camerupt and brings in Marshtomp. Al tags out for Winry, who manages to defeat both opponents the following turn. This leaves Dakim with Graveler and Entei, who is a Spookamon. Maze takes down the former with Surf and a Mudshot, while Winry manages to tank a full-powered Fire Blast from the legendary Beast. You better drop some respect for Chikorita's line down in the comments after that performance. She tags out for Scar, then for Edward once Entei is weakened more. After a few attempts, I manage to snag the Beast, ending the battle. Prince Kong here leaps off into nowhere, leaving us with the unconscious guy. We wake him up, and he introduces himself as Vander. We explain what happened, and then he gives us the Time Flute, which can summon Celebi at the Relic Stone to purify a Spookamon immediately. So we do just that. We bring our newest recruit, Entei, whom we purify and name Roy. I may add them to the team later, but for now, let's see how well Plusle does. Our next destination would be this mystery lab in the desert, but the gate is locked, so we need to find the key. Luckily, we have a lead. Chief Shurls has arrested 2 more lackeys, so we give him our number in case they say anything. We go to interrogate them ourselves, letting ourselves into their cell with the key that I found earlier, which totally isn't a crime. They mention trying to get to the Under, and we manage to pickpocket a key off the sleeping one. We leave without closing the cell, which totally isn't a crime. With the key in hand, I can return to the Pyrite building and descend into the Under. A news report turns on immediately, which allows Lady Venus to announce that there are spies in the Under. Then Emma loudly remarks about her knowing that we arrived already. Emma, seriously, if she's talking about us, maybe you shouldn't say anything out loud, especially with someone standing 3 feet away. Anyway, the news comes on again 2 minutes later, with Venus impatient that the spies haven't been found yet. I guess we better find those spies and shut her up. We continue exploring and find a kid cleaning a basement. He apparently knows who we are on site, so he gives us a part to deliver to some other kid. The perspective then changes again to spy on another video call. This time, we see Venus and edgy anime dude zoom with Mr. Bede. Venus has to find the spies in the Under, while edgy anime dude has to finish his science project. We then watch him walk back to the lab, which is obviously super important. Back with Emma and me, we arrive at Net's house and deliver the part. This introduces us to the kids next door, a group of toddlers who are somehow fighting a villainous organization. One of them is even an elite hacker and computer science genius. This is truly a Pokemon game to end all Pokemon games. We leave Net's house and learn that a spy has been found. Silva apparently made his way down here and was caught immediately. He's then led into a fenced-in area and told to lie still. He remains standing because he's a true American hero and won't stand for that kind of treatment. To save him, we challenge the 2 grunts who captured him, Cloak and Dagger, which is a great pair of names. These battles should be quite unremarkable. Cloak has a spooky Ledian, which I snag easily. But then comes the scariest thing in all of Pokemon. RNG. Roy gets confused on the first turn and just won't stop hitting himself in confusion. If not for Maze coming in clutch with a Surf, Roy would have been taken out by a Spinarak.
My disappointment is immeasurable.
With that embarrassment behind us, I talk to Silva, who gives us an R disc. We can use that to move the UFO and confront Venus in her studio. Like Dakim, her team is also built around a strategy: abuse of status effects. All of her Pokemon know Attract, and she has a few other status moves mixed in there for extra frustration. I send out Maze and Roy against her Delcatty and Vileplume. Flamethrower immediately immolates the latter, while the former immobilizes Maze with Attract. I could call him a simp, but I think that word is dumb. Anyway, another blast of flames melts Steelix, while Maze takes a hit from his lover and strikes back with Surf. I then double switch to Winry and then Edward, while Roy continues to carry this team on his back, taking down Baynet with a couple of bites. This brings in Venus's Suicune, whom I will snag to see if this studio counts as a separate location. Roy sets up the sun with Sunny Day to nerf its Surf. Try saying that 5 times fast. Then scores his 4th KO of the battle by taking down Delcatty. Meanwhile, Edward manages to paralyze Suicune with Secret Power. I then swap Roy out for Al and start chucking Ultra Balls. The second one works, ending the battle and possibly giving us a powerful new ally. Defeated, Venus flees the same direction that edgy anime dude went. We follow her but find our way blocked by an elevator, so we'll have to take the stairs.
So many stairs!
This leads us to another potential encounter. Gligar. Winry personally oversees his capture, so it's a guaranteed success. He goes to the box for now. We'll check on him later. We reach what appears to be a subway station where Venus is planning to flee to the Spookamon lab. They board the train and give us enough time to follow. But the train is empty. Not suspicious at all. Venus is waiting for us outside to taunt us about having the key. Then she and her goon squad run away with the key. We follow them and what's this? She dropped the key literally right outside the station? I would be incredulous, but I bet it's because her dress doesn't have pockets. So let's give us in to women's fashion for that. Using the key, we ride the subway to the Spookamon lab. A couple of grunts block the way and they recognize us. This could be oh, they just ran off. Let's chase after them. Oh my gosh. They literally blew up the room they were in rather than fight us or lock the door. Oh, but the game acknowledges that it was over the top, so it's fine. As if that wasn't enough, they left the main gate key on the ground for us. Now, I guess we'll have to enter through the front door. Before I storm the castle, let's check on our new captures. Ledian is legit. Suicune is also from the Under, so they're illegal. I'll put them in timeout. And Gligar is also legit. I take a moment to rearrange the PC box and head out to grind. With grinding done, we drive out to the lab and open the gate. We explore the lab, which is surprisingly empty. We find a scientist who remarks about moving out of the lab. That makes sense. Maybe I should have done my grinding another time. Oh well, we beat the guy easily and luckily he drops the card key that we need when he runs off. Now let's make sure there's nobody here. Entering the lab proper, sure enough, it's pretty empty. But we do find Cypher Peon Cole, who has a spooky Apom. Unfortunately, in the process of weakening the monkey, Roy scores a crit thanks to their held scope lens, knocking it out and costing us another encounter. Oh well, Apom isn't that great of a Pokemon. But the Peon does disappear without a trace after the battle. Thankfully, that means we avoid the awkward post-battle dialogue that every other trainer has. Skipping some stuff, the alarm starts going off and we find a DNA analyzer. There are 3 DNA samples hidden somewhere in the lab that are important to a puzzle. I have 2 of them now, so I analyzed them and discovered that they belong to Sudowoodo and Bayleaf. We solve the puzzle and see Scrub again. Hey dude, how's that Hitmontop doing? I'll take care of it really quickly for you. Now we can take down edgy anime dude. His team kind of has 2 strategies going on. Toxic and Rain Dance Thunder combos.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him.
The battle begins with Plusle and Winry facing down Huntail and Altaria. Thunderbolt deals decent damage to the latter, while Winry and Huntail set up Light Screen and Rain Dance respectively. Winry tanks a flying attack from Altaria before nearly taking down Huntail herself. Plusle, meanwhile, has been watching Roy battle too much and keeps hitting himself in confusion. I managed to paralyze Altaria with Body Slam, then swap out for Alphonse as Plusle finally takes down Huntail. He then tags out for Maze, negating the incoming thunder from Lantern. He also tanks Altaria's Ice Beam. A 2-pronged attack of Psybeam and Ice Beam take down Lantern and Altaria the following turn. This leaves Sasuke with a Golbat and a Raikou. A single shot of Psychic easily obliterates Golbat, but then Raikou hits Al with Thunder. And he survives on just 2 HP. Maze is then able to blast the pup with some mud, knocking it out, and winning the battle. The Edgelord runs off, rambling about some special Spookamon he made for the boss. But he leaves a data ROM behind, which I'm sure will be super important and show up again in this video. Now we can head off to the newly completed Realgam Tower for the final arc of the game, which contains an endless gauntlet of battles. First, we rematch the 4 admins. They each give us ID cards which we can use to open a door before fighting yet another Cypher Peon. This lets us take a tram to the tower base, where we fight yet another Peon, as well as everyone else in the vicinity. This brings us to a total of 16 battles in this area. Now we can approach the elevator to ascend to the upper levels. Silva has apparently snuck in and positioned himself here, but he immediately blows his cover upon seeing us, so we leave him to deal with the consequences of that. I'm sure he'll be fine. At the top of the elevator, Bede's dad taunts us before walking into another elevator. How high does this tower go? We beat up another lackey to gain access to the healing machine, bringing our total of battles to 18. But before we go any farther, we have some preparations to make. First, we clear the Phenac Colosseum a few times, earning the TM for Giga Drain. Winry learns this instead of Razor Leaf. Second, I revisit Egan in Agate Village. He gives us the Master Ball. This will be helpful. More on that later. Third, I buy a couple of TMs for Protect in the Under. Lastly, I return to the Spookamon lab to pick up the TM for Earthquake that I missed. Here's the final team heading into the final gauntlet. Back at Realgam Tower, we attempt to ascend the final elevator but are stopped by the random buff dude from the cold open. His name is Gonzap, and he's the leader of Team Snagging. He tells us that they received the snag machines from Cypher, then used them to snag Pokemon for the Spookamon project. So you're saying all of this is my fault? Well, I guess I'll pay my penance like anybody else in the Pokemon world, by beating you in battle. Unlike the Cypher admins, Gonzap doesn't really have a strategy. Just decent Pokemon with decent movesets. His leading pair for me is Shiftry and Crawdaunt, and mine is Roy and Scar. My duo manages to outspeed them both and obliterate them with Flamethrower and Cross Chop. This prompts Gonzap to send out his own Hariyama and a Pinsir. Because the latter has Earthquake, I swap Roy out for Winry, who tanks it very well. Another Cross Chop from Scar takes down his doppelganger. Gonzap sends out his final Pokemon, a spooky Skarmory. I switch both of my Pokemon out for Maze and Alphonse, who take an Earthquake quite well. A single Psychic destroys Gen 1's best bug. Maze starts to weaken Skarmory with Surf, but Roy tags in to steal the kill and end the battle. With the way cleared, I do a trial run for damage calcs, but I discover that I'm not healed between battles until the final 2 matches. Plus, the levels jump a bit, and the final boss has 3 pseudo-legends. So I adjust the level cap up to 60, grind the team, and head in. We take the elevator up to the Colosseum, where we have to fight 4 trainers before challenging Nascor. First up is some rando. I pull a page from Dakim's playbook and use Protect and Earthquake to take down their Zangoose and Porygon 2 easily. This leaves them with just a spooky cow, which reminds me that one of my best friends from college was scared of cows. So I chuck the Master Ball at this cow to end its reign of terror. Everyone type Moo Tiffany in the comments in honor of this moment. That battle was easy, and the other 3 aren't much harder. Their levels are much lower than mine to make up for the fact that I can't change my lineup or heal. In fact, this would be super easy if I wasn't doing a Nuzlocke. The infinite Pokeball glitch would let you reuse the Master Ball in each of these battles, immediately removing one of the opponent's Pokemon. So I recommend doing that the next time you play Colosseum. I, however, will not. Once I beat the 4th trainer, my team gets healed and Nascor appears. I mean Mr. Bede, whatever you want to call him. This makes him like the champion, right? Since the Colosseum is basically the Elite Four. Anyway, let's take him down. If I had to describe Nascor's strategy in one word, it would be this: sidekick. He leads with Xatu and Walrein, and I lead with Maze and Scar, since I haven't been able to switch up my team. I try another Protect Earthquake combo in the first turn, but Maze falls in love with Walrein and is unable to move. I then switch Scar out for Alphonse while Maze trades blows with Xatu. I then forget that Xatu has Giga Drain, which nearly murders him immediately. But we're not out of the woods yet. Walrein then double taps him with Ice Beam, killing him just like his namesake. This gives us the first and perhaps most tragic death. I send out Roy to avenge his closest friend. Luckily, Nascor wasted his turn using X items on both of his Pokemon, so Roy easily takes down the embodiment of Lust, which is even more poignant because Walrein did in fact use Attract and kill Maze. Blaziken comes out, but I score a double KO this round. Al continues to avoid confusion damage and blasts the chicken with Psychic, while Roy picks up the kill on Xatu with Bite. Next up are Dusclops and Gardevoir. Our reign of terror continues as we wombo combo the Ghost, leaving Nascor with Gardevoir and Metagross. Gardevoir gets off a Psychic and a taunt on Roy, but Roy melts the Metal Behemoth with one hit. Then Al takes down Nascor's final Pokemon with the power of Friendship. Oh, I didn't mention that Metagross was a Spookamon, but oh well. We won. That did not go as expected, and neither does the following cutscene. The mayor of Phenac City shows up and reveals that he's actually a guy named Evice. He's also the boss of Team Cypher, so now we have to take him down, and all without my Ice Beamer. Evice's first Pokemon are Salamence and Slaking, a devastating combo. My team was healed, which means that a zombie maze is here. I swap him out for Alphonse while Scar uses Protect to see what the foes do. The mayor just roids up both of his Pokemon with X attacks, which is neither lucky nor unlucky for us. Al sets up a Reflect to mitigate that, but Aerial Ace from Salamence still takes 2/3 of Scar's health. Slacking just loafs this turn, which lets Scar get a free hit. Al starts hitting Salamence with Psychic, but Evice keeps healing him. Cross Chop nearly takes down Slacking, so Al finishes the job on the following turn, while Scar protects himself and heals a bit with leftovers. Al hits Salamence again with Psychic, but Aerial Ace takes down Scar before he can do anything else. To make matters worse, Evice's Scizor hits Al with Silver Wind, obliterating him too. Now, this is a 3v5. I send out Roy and Edward. They quickly even up the score with Flamethrower and Feint Attack. This brings out Machamp and Slowking. Roy and Ed both wail on Machamp, but it survives both hits. Earthquake then deals massive damage to Roy, and Slowking finishes them off with Water Pulse. And then there were two. Another Psychic from Ed evens the score again, taking down Machamp and bringing out the final Spookamon, Tyranitar. Giga Drain falls just short of the KO on Slowking as the Rock Dinosaur sets up a Sandstorm. Ed continues to avenge his fallen friends and brother by knocking out Slowking and dodging a Blizzard. Winry isn't so lucky though. Blizzard leaves her with a sliver of health. But now we have the dream couple squaring off against the final boss of the game. Feint Attack does nothing, but thank goodness we have Winry. An Overgrow boosted Giga Drain saps the last of Tyranitar's HP, winning us the battle and the run. Defeated, Escade attempts to flee. Egan and Pikachu show up to do nothing, but then Ho-Oh does a flyby and blows Escade's Escape Chopper out of the air. And with that, Cypher and Snagging are defeated. But at what cost? We had a grand total of 4 deaths, all in the final 2 battles. I did miss at least one encounter because I could have caught something in Realgam Tower, but my team was pretty much set from the very beginning. Anyway, this challenge was so much fun. I love Pokemon Colosseum, so I was really glad to play it again. I would love to play Pokemon XD if y'all want to see that, or maybe even do a randomizer in this game. But I have so many fond memories of playing Colosseum, especially with my brother on Saturday mornings. We would take turns playing for about an hour, hour and a half. It was great. But this game can be really, really hard, especially when you impose any kind of limitations on it. But all in all, this was a great video to make. I'm so excited. I hope this gets out on time. If you're watching this on release and it's before Christmas in 2023, fantastic. That's the goal. I have like 6 days to get this out before Christmas. But if you're still watching, make sure you give the video a thumbs up if you liked it. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in the next video. Don't forget to have a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays and a great New Year. And I'll see you probably not before then, but at the very least, I will see you in 2024. Later, nerds.